definitely exist, so why is it attached to death to form a member? Why is illness not a member? Because it is not universal or necessary for causing rebirth. Even though old age is not necessary, it is universal, and for that reason it constitutes a member, because, with the exception of premature death, all beings in the various realms, destinies, and forms of birth have decaying forces.
Name and form are not universal. Why does it constitute a member? It is a member because it is necessary, because those born from wombs, eggs, and moisture must have name and form as long as their 6 sense bases are incomplete. Also, the member of name and form is universal. Even though beings in the realm of form and those who are miraculously born have the 5 sense organs when they first experience birth, still, the organs do not yet function, and so at that time, they are not called 6 sense bases. Even though beings definitely have the mental faculty when first born in the formless realm, still it does not perceive clearly, so it is not called a mental sense base. As a consequence of this, the Yogacarabhimi Sastra says, the 12 members all exist in part in the 2 upper realms.
Thirst does not exist universally. Why does it separately constitute a member? Because the one born in an evil destiny does not thirst for it. It is necessary, and for that reason it separately constitutes a member, because one born in good destinies who does not seek non-existence definitely has thirst, and because even though the non-returners do not have the occurrence of the thirst that nourishes rebirth, still just as they grasp, they definitely have the seeds of thirst. Also, thirst is universal, because those born in the evil destinies still have thirst for their present selves and for objects. Due to their not having thirst that seeks a body in the evil destinies, it is said by the scriptures that thirst does not exist, but it is not completely non-existent.
What is the reason for establishing birth and old age as that which is engendered and separately establishing the 5 members of consciousness, etc., as that which is projected? Because in the causal state, specific characteristics are difficult to know, the 5 members of consciousness, etc., are separately established on the basis of their future results. That is, at the time of the first appearance of consciousness at rebirth, the characteristics of causal consciousness are manifest. Next, the organs are still incomplete, and the characteristics of name and form grow. Next, when the organs are complete, the 6 sense bases are clear and thriving. As a consequence, contact appears, and because of contact, feeling occurs, and at that time it is said that the result of feeling is completed. On the basis of the states of result, causes are established as being 5 in number.
Because the distinct characteristics of the states of result are easy to understand, the 2 members, of birth and old age and death, are established generally in order to indicate the 3 kinds of suffering. However, when the result that is projected is in the future, it is said to be birth and old age and death in order to generate disgust. When it is in the present, it is said to be the 5 members of consciousness, etc., in order to bring about a clear understanding of the generation of the characteristics of the state.
What is the reason for generally establishing ignorance for the production of action and separately establishing thirst and grasping for the state of nourishing action? Even though various passions are capable of producing and nourishing, still the power of ignorance is predominant in the state of producing action, because it has 11 particularities, such as its objects, etc., as extensively discussed in the scriptures. Regarding the state of nourishing action, the power of thirst is especially predominant, because it is said that thirst, like water, can enrich.
In order for becoming to sprout, it must be watered repeatedly, and the 2 members of thirst and grasping are distinguished on the basis of the preliminary and subsequent parts of the watering process. The one cause of action, of ignorance is established, then there is no meaning of production through repetition. Even though all passions are included in the member of grasping, still thirst is predominant in nourishing, and grasping is said to be the intensification of thirst. All members of conditioned arising are supported by their own stages, but some karmic forces that are produced are supported by the ignorance of another stage, just as the inferior ignorance produces the karmic forces of a superior stage. If it were otherwise, when one first subdued the impurity of a lower stage, the superior samadhi that had arisen would not be the member of the karmic forces, because the ignorance of that stage had not yet arisen.
When one is born in a lower stage from an upper one, or vice versa, on the basis of what feeling does one generate the member of thirst? That thirst is based on the feeling of the future stage of birth, whether actual or as seeds, which does not conflict with reason. These 12 members, the 10 causes and 2 results, are not necessarily of the same period. Of the 10 causes, the first 7, along with thirst, grasping, and becoming, are sometimes of different periods, and sometimes of the same. They are necessarily of the same period in the case of the last 2, the middle 3, and the first 7. In this way, a single repetition of cause and result in the 12 members sufficiently shows the turning of the wheel of death and rebirth, and avoids annihilationism and eternalism. There is really no need to devise a double repetition, as the small vehicle does, or else one would have to go beyond those 2, and they would be extended endlessly, in infinite regress.
2 related topics. On the topic of the differences of meanings of the 12 members, 9 are real and 3 are fictional, because the combined nourished 6 members, I.C., ignorance, and the 5 beginning with consciousness, are becoming, and the 5 beginning with consciousness in the 3 states, of origination, change, and cessation, are separately named birth, etc. 5 are single entities, that is, the 5 of ignorance, consciousness, contact, feeling, and thirst. The others are not single, but are composites.
3 are defiled only, because they are passions by nature, and 7 are non-defiled only, because they are results as retribution. Because defilement may occur in 7 states, it is said hypothetically that they are both defiled and non-defiled. The rest are of both kinds. Ignorance, thirst, and grasping are said to be characterized by solitariness, because they are not mixed with characteristics of other members. The remainder are characterized by mixture. 6 are non-material only, that is, ignorance, consciousness, contact, feeling, thirst, and grasping. The others are both.
All are categorized as impure and conditioned only, because pure and unconditioned, dharmas, are not members. Ignorance, thirst, and grasping are not good and defiled and non-determined only. Karmic forces are good and bad only. Becoming is both good and bad, undefiled and non-determined. The other 7 are only non-defiled and non-determined, and during the 7 states, good or defiled, dharmas, also occur. Even though all members are common to the 3 realms, still some are in part and some are wholly.
The member that is karmic forces of a superior stage is capable of subduing that of a lower stage, which is to say, the 6 kinds of motive activity consisting of coarseness, suffering, etc., because there is a search for birth in the superior stages, and a generation of that member. None of the members is generated by those who are learners or post-learners. Impure good actions performed by the saints are conditioned by special knowledge, vidya, and are opposed to the member of becoming, and for that reason they are not categorized as the member of becoming. Consequently, you should understand that the saints necessarily do not perform or summon actions leading to subsequent lives, because they do not delusively seek the results of suffering in subsequent lives. Non-returners assist old actions of the lower stages via mixed cultivation of the trance states, dhyana, and, consequently, are born in the celestial realms of the pure abodes, etc., so there is no conflict with reason.
There is an interpretation that ignorance is eliminated only by the path of insight, because one must be confused about the four truths in order for karmic forces to be produced, and because the saints do not perform actions leading to subsequent lives. The 2 members of thirst and grasping are eliminated only by the path of cultivation, because craving and seeking future lives nourishes becoming, and because the 9 forms of death consciousness are accompanied by innate thirst. The remaining 9 members are eliminated by the paths of both insight and cultivation.
There is an interpretation that all members are eliminated by the 2 paths, because the Yogacarabhimi, Sastra says, he with the result called entering the stream, Srotigpana, has already eliminated all causes of becoming in part but not wholly. If the cause of ignorance is eliminated only by insight, why is it said that he has not wholly eliminated it? If the causes that are thirst and grasping are eliminated only by cultivation, why is it said that he has eliminated all causes in part?
Also, it is said that all passions of all realms are capable of binding birth. Only passions generated by imagination, vikalpa, are able to elicit karmic forces, leading to going to evil destinies. The Yogacara Bhumi does not say that passions that nourish birth are eliminated only by cultivation and that karmic forces that summon subsequent lives are all produced by passions that are to be eliminated by insight. Consequently, you should understand that the three members of ignorance, thirst, and grasping are eliminated by both insight and cultivation.
However, the member of ignorance, which principally provokes the karmic forces, is to be eliminated by the path of insight, and as an assisting element it is not limited to that elimination. The two members of thirst and grasping, as principally nourishing birth, are to be eliminated only by the path of cultivation, and as assisting elements they are not limited to that elimination.
Also, the self-nature of defiled dharmas must be eliminated, because when the antidote of pure dharmas is generated, they are eternally eliminated. Nonk of the impure, non-defiled dharmas is to be eliminated in its self-nature, because it does not contradict the path. However, there are two interpretations that say that they are eliminated. The first is because of the elimination of bonds, that is, the elimination of passions that have these dharmas as objects and that are mixed with them. The second is because of non-generation, that is, eliminating the supports and causing their eternal non-generation. On the basis of the elimination by separation from bonds, it is said that impure good and non-defiled and non-determined dharmas are eliminated by cultivation only. On the basis of elimination by non-generation, it is said that the evil destinies, mindless samadhi, etc., are eliminated by insight only. Regarding the statement that the 12 members are eliminated by both paths, this should be understood as is appropriate in the above eliminations.
10 members are accompanied by happiness and indifference, because feeling is not associated with the member of feeling, and for the most part there is no happiness or adventitious indifference in states of old age and death. 11 members are accompanied by suffering, because they do not accompany feeling.
11 members are categorized as partially the suffering of deterioration, parinama dukkha, but old age and death is not said to be, because in that state there is no feeling of pleasure for the most part, and deterioration is based on happiness. 12 members are categorized as partially the suffering of suffering, dukkha dukkhattata, because in all members there is a feeling of suffering. 12 are categorized as totally the suffering of the karmic forces, samskara dukkha, because all impure dharmas are totally